On February 28, 2026, at precisely 10 o'clock in the morning, within a government complex in central Tehran, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei convened with his top military commanders. None of them knew that this day would be their last. While they were in their meeting, Israeli missiles struck the complex, resulting in the deaths of 30 high-ranking Iranian officials in less than half a minute. This is how the story began. So, who brought the region to this moment, and what happened next? But before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. To understand what occurred, it is necessary to look back a little. The American Central Intelligence Agency CIA, in cooperation with British intelligence, led a covert operation known as Operation Ajax, which aimed to overthrow the democratically elected Iranian Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. The driving force behind this coup was Mossadegh's bold decision to nationalize the Iranian oil industry, which was then under the control of the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, known today as BP. This decision provoked Great Britain, which succeeded in persuading Washington that Mossadegh's leanings were shifting toward communism and the Soviet Union. Exploiting the charged atmosphere of the Cold War, the coup ultimately succeeded in ousting Mossadegh and placing him under house arrest until his death, leading to the consolidation of absolute power for Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who transformed from a constitutional monarch into an autocratic ruler fully backed by the West. Iran remained, under the Shah's rule, as the primary strategic ally of the United States in the region until 1979. Historical readings agree that this incident represented a major turning point, as historians believe it sowed the seeds of deep-seated hostility toward the West within the Iranian consciousness. However, the Iranian Revolution turned everything upside down. Khomeini emerged as a prominent religious scholar in the city of Qom, becoming famous for his fierce opposition to the policies of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, particularly what was known as the White Revolution, a set of economic and social reforms that Khomeini viewed as the westernization of society and an assault on Islamic identity. In 1964, he was exiled from Iran following his sharp speeches against United States influence. He spent his years of exile in Turkey, then Iraq, Najaf, and finally France. From there, he would send his recorded speeches on cassette tapes, which were smuggled into Iran and spread with astonishing speed among the masses. In the late 1970s, several factors converged to cause the Iranian streets to erupt. Economic crises where, despite oil wealth, there was sharp class disparity and high inflation and political repression, exemplified by the Soviet intelligence agency's practices against dissidents. In January 1978, an article was published in an official newspaper insulting Khomeini, triggering demonstrations that began in Qom and expanded to include all Iranian cities. The regime met these with force, which only accelerated the pace of anger. As protests and general strikes paralyzed the country's economy, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi left Iran on January 16, 1979, ostensibly for medical treatment. On February 1, 1979, Khomeini returned to Tehran to a monumental reception involving millions. After 10 days of clashes between pro-Shah forces and revolutionaries, the army declared neutrality, the government appointed by the Shah collapsed, and the victory of the revolution was announced on February 11th. Khomeini did not stop at overthrowing the monarchy. He worked quickly to build a new system. In the April 1979 general referendum, Iranians voted by an overwhelming majority in favor of transforming the country into an Islamic republic, and a new constitution was drafted. A new constitution was established enshrining the principle of Wilayat al-Faqih, guardianship of the jurist, a principle that grants the supreme leader absolute political and religious authority over all other branches of government. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini took power and founded the Islamic Republic, officially becoming the supreme leader, and declared the United States and Israel as archenemies. This hostility was not merely political rhetoric, but a firm strategic and ideological objective. Khomeini passed away in 1989 and was succeeded by Ali Khamenei, who rose rapidly through the ranks to become the country's supreme leader. Since then, events have unfolded year after year. Sanctions were imposed on Iran, which in turn became a primary financier for anti-Israel militias in the region. In 2002, it was revealed that Iran was enriching uranium at two secret sites. Iran denied any intention of possessing nuclear weapons, but the United States and its allies did not believe this. Consequently, they launched cyberattacks, assassinated prominent scientists, and attempted diplomacy several times. In 2015, the Obama administration reached a nuclear deal with Iran, with Obama stating at the time that the agreement would prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear bomb. However, in 2018, when Trump reached the White House, he withdrew from the agreement entirely, considering it a foolish deal that should never have been made in the first place. From that day forward, tensions never ceased to escalate. In 2025, Israel and the United States launched a series of airstrikes on Iran using bunker-buster bombs, causing severe damage to 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Simultaneously, Iran was suffering from a crushing economic crisis. The currency collapsed, food prices skyrocketed, and public frustration grew day by day. By the end of 2025, massive demonstrations erupted across the country, with protesters calling for an end to the Islamic Republic. Trump urged the Iranian people to rise up against their government, saying, "Help is on the way," but the regime responded with violence, cutting off the internet entirely across the country. The media blackout lasted for days, and when connectivity returned, the figures were shocking: thousands dead and nearly 50,000 detainees. The United States mobilized its forces in the region, and on Thursday, February 26th, final diplomatic attempts took place in Geneva between the two countries, but the talks failed. Then came Saturday, February 28th, at exactly 10 o'clock in the morning. This government complex is located near Haravi Square and is said to house the Iranian presidential offices, the Supreme National Security Council, and the headquarters of the Supreme Leader. According to reports, the CIA had tracked Khamenei for several months and mapped out his movements and behavioral patterns. They were confident of his presence in the complex on that specific day and knew of a meeting of senior Iranian officials taking place there. The attack was originally planned for the night, but the opportunity was too precious to waste, so the timing was moved forward. Israeli missiles struck the buildings. During the strike, senior national security officials were in one building, while Khamenei was in another. Satellite imagery following the strike showed extensive damage and thick plumes of black smoke. Ali Khamenei perished in the attack. However, he was not alone. Alongside him died Mr. Abdolrahim Mousavi, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Ali Shamakhani, Head of the National Defense Council, Mohammad Bagheri, Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary Guard, and Aziz Nasirzadeh, the Minister of Defense. This strike had been planned for months, while Masoud Pezeshkian, the president of Iran, survived. Ali Larijani, who was subsequently assassinated, Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, vowed that Iran would retaliate. The strike on the government complex was only the first part of the operation. In a second wave, Israel disabled the Iranian air defense systems surrounding Tehran. Then, in a third wave, Israel deployed nearly 200 fighter jets into Iranian airspace, with the aim of destroying as many Iranian missiles as possible in the shortest time frame. The United States joined the assault approximately 30 minutes after the targeting of the Iranian leadership. Its strikes were primarily concentrated on targets in eastern Iran, also targeting the Iranian fleet. American warships launched Tomahawk missiles, while ground forces utilized artillery rocket systems. Numerous military and command centers in Tehran were subjected to Israeli airstrikes, and explosions were reported in various cities throughout the country. Trump released a video officially announcing the military operation, urging the Iranian people to take matters into their own hands regarding their government, stating, "When we are finished, take control of your government. It will belong to you." Netanyahu later followed suit, both calling on the people to take to the streets and revolt against the government. Then came the shock that threw everything into chaos. Shortly after the two announcements, an airstrike hit a girls' primary school in the Mineb district of Hormozgan. Iranian media reported that at least 175 people were killed, most of them children, as the school was struck by 3 consecutive missiles. Immediately following the announcement of Khamenei's death, President Masoud Pezeshkian announced the commencement of the Provisional Leadership Council to manage the country's affairs, consisting of the president, the head of the judiciary, and a member of the Guardian Council. The Assembly of Experts subsequently elected Mojtaba Khomeini, the late leader's son, as the new supreme leader of Iran, marking only the second time such a decision has been announced since the founding of the republic in 1979. But who is Mojtaba? Some observers believe he had been managing Iran's affairs from behind the scenes through his father's office, known as the House. Iran did not wait long. It immediately announced Operation True Promise for inches and began its retaliatory strikes, launching over 500 ballistic and naval missiles and approximately 1,000 drones. However, the difference this time was that Iran did not target Israel alone, but expanded its strike map to include 9 countries in the region simultaneously. In the United Arab Emirates, air defenses intercepted 438 ballistic missiles, 19 cruise missiles, and more than 2,000 drones. Nevertheless, 12 people died within the country. In Kuwait, Iranian drones struck Kuwait International Airport and ignited massive fires in fuel storage tanks. While in Bahrain, fires broke out at a commercial facility in what Bahrain described as Iranian aggression. In Saudi Arabia, 10 American soldiers were injured in an attack on Prince Sultan Air Base in Qatar. An oil tanker was struck twice 17 nautical miles from the Ras Laffan natural gas port. In Lebanon, 773 people died and more than 1,933 were injured due to Israeli strikes, with over 830,000 people displaced. In Iraq, at least 106 people died, the majority of whom were from the Popular Mobilization Forces. In a move that altered the global energy equation, Iran effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz, causing oil prices to exceed $100 per barrel and leaving the world standing on the brink of an energy crisis unseen in decades. In Iran, the human rights organization HRANA has documented the deaths of at least 3,519 people, including 1,598 civilians and 1,921 military personnel. While the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies speaks of 1,900 dead and more than 25,000 injured. Regarding American soldiers, there are 15 confirmed deaths as of April 1st. However, some reports suggest that the Pentagon is providing figures lower than the reality and that more than 520 personnel have been injured since the beginning of the war. In Israel, 12 civilians and 2 soldiers had fallen by mid-March, though these figures are naturally viewed by some as inaccurate, with certain sources claiming that the death toll and losses in Israel are far higher. The United States' involvement in this war continues to spark intense, unrelenting controversy. Trump asserts that the objective is to defend the American people and eliminate Iranian threats to his forces and allies in the region. Yet, the situation does not appear that simple. Iran was years away from possessing a nuclear weapon, and the range of its ballistic missiles does not exceed 3,000 kilometers, making it a threat to neighboring countries, but not directly to American soil. Many analysts believe that Iran was targeted because it was at its weakest point, which transforms this conflict from a war of necessity into a war of choice. Under international law, this type of preemptive warfare is condemned. Debate is also raging within America itself because Trump launched the war without obtaining congressional approval. Trump claims that talks with Tehran are ongoing and that he gave Iran 10 days before targeting its oil facilities. While Iran maintains that although the exchange of messages continues, there are no real negotiations and no mutual trust. The war remains open-ended, and casualties continue to mount every day up to the time of recording this segment. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and share it. Until next time.